Hey, Astra Kids, and welcome back. And in today's video, we'll be talking about the conjunction of Mercury and Saturn. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. So firstly, what do you need to interpret the conjunction of Mercury and Saturn in your natal chart? Well, definitely you want to see this from the D1 Rashi chart, from your natal chart position. But it's also extremely important to see this in the D9 chart to see the overall strength of this conjunction. The final say will also come in the D60 chart, and it's very important to see the house placement and the sign placement of this conjunction also. So, what does Mercury represent? Mercury is a planet of communication, of writing, of logical thinking, decision making. It is all about our skills and our ability to put those skills to use. Mercury is a planet of money, of business, of trade, dealings. So definitely is a very skillful and intellectual planet. Mercury also represents friendship as well, and it is a planet of movement, of travel. Saturn then represents all of the delays, obstacles in our lives. Typically, Saturn is the most challenging when we are younger, when we are going through some of those karmas early on in life. But the more that we work at Saturn, the more that we will find that Saturn will reward us as we mature in life. Saturn definitely is all about us being patient, being hardworking, persistent, having resiliency. This becomes extremely important. So, what happens then when Saturn is conjunct with Mercury in the chart? Well, this tends to be a very promising position, although early on it tends not to feel this way. There's definitely some challenges that come with this very early on in life, typically centered around education and communication. Mercury conjunct Saturn tends to make you a very slow learner. You take your time to digest all of the information. And this can cause a lot of frustration early on in your education, especially if this is placed in a fire sign, especially in Aries where Saturn is debilitated. A lot of frustration in being able to learn and process this information at your own pace. So it can feel a little bit restrictive or like this is a bit of a burden on you sometimes in your early educational environment. Sometimes this placement can even make you feel like you are lacking in some way in your intellect, which is actually not the case. Mercury conjunct Saturn makes you a highly intelligent person, which we will discuss more in this video. Sometimes it can also be that an authoritative figure has put a lot of emphasis on your education and you being successful academically, and this can feel like a burden as well. There's usually some issue with an authoritative figure also early on because Saturn represents authority. So, definitely, you can see some issues with this in terms of being able to communicate or relate to a person in a position of authority. Sometimes a fatherly figure, but really, Saturn represents authority in general. Sometimes this placement can also give you some issues in terms of speech disorders, dyslexia, language disorders. All of these things can be seen as well. Some speech delays. These are things that can happen early on in life that can make you feel very low in your self esteem and your sense of confidence. But these are things that you tend to overcome with time, especially if this is not too badly afflicted in the chart. You will find that your confidence and your ability will increase as you get older. This placement definitely makes you a very patient person as well. You take your time to analyze everything. Now, especially if there are afflictions in the chart, this can become problematic where you can overanalyze things. You can become very anxious, very much worrisome about all of the details, which can actually create some procrastination sometimes as well. But ultimately, your ability to be patient and focused, taking your time with all the details, not making hasty decisions, makes you a great decision maker. And this is something that you tend to see as you get older, which can definitely help you with gaining success in business because you don't take a lot of risk when making decisions. You take your time, you measure everything carefully, you look over all of the small print. This makes you very skilled in areas of business. Saturn conjunct Mercury can also give you a very straightforward style of communication as well. Again, you measure everything very carefully, but also Saturn is about truth, it's about reality. So, definitely, the way that you communicate is all about the things that are important, the things that have true meaning to it. And so this can definitely make your communication style come off as serious or straight to the point sometimes as well. Definitely, you're a person who cares about making sure that all the details are organized, making sure that everything is running correctly, running smoothly. You can be a great planner, really good at being systematic, being organized in the way that you approach life. This can definitely make you very interested in wanting to make everything in your life useful, not wanting anything to go to waste or to have a lack of meaning. Everything has to have a purpose for why you are doing it. This becomes extremely important. This can make you a very hardworking person as well. You can put a lot of effort and focus into building a business. And typically, with this conjunction, you don't want to do a lot of different things. You are very much about focusing on one or two projects and really focusing intensely on it to build that solid foundation. So over time, you're able to build a lot of slow success with this placement. This can definitely give you technical skill as well. You can be very skilled at computer programming, at anything really that has that precision, that technical skill to it. You become very much skillful in that area. So this can also get you into science, into research, into mathematics, into law, into all of these areas where you really have to be very precise with the details. You have to be very measured, very technical in your approach. Sometimes this placement also is great for writers because Mercury, again, is the planet of communication, which includes our writing skills. And Saturn is about the things that last, that take time. So this can make you very skilled, especially with writing novels, with writing things that involve a great amount of time, effort, and patience. You can be very skillful in this area. So many successful authors and writers oftentimes have this conjunction. If Mercury conjunct Saturn is really badly afflicted in the chart, not only can it make you very nervousome and hyper focused on the details, over analyzing things, but sometimes there can also be issues with panic attacks because Mercury actually rules the nervous system and Saturn is a planet of illness. So there can be some nervous disorders, some issues in this area, which means that finding relaxation practices, calming techniques, meditation, spirituality, all of these things become very important to calm down the nervous system, to get you into more of this relaxed space. Sometimes there can also be some issues related to travel. There can be some fears. There can be some issues. Typically, it's centered around anxiety, about worrying about how things will turn out. So you're the type of person who would want everything to be planned, to be carefully measured, to know all of the details of your travels beforehand. This becomes important to you. So sometimes there is a tendency to have some issues if things don't go according to plan on your travels. There can also be a issue around friendships sometimes, but typically Mercury conjunct Saturn, if not too badly afflicted, gives you very lifelong connections in your friend circle. You are more so interested in meaningful connections that last over time. You really are not that interested in frivolous connections with this placement. Again, this is a very serious combination of Mercury and Saturn. Sometimes it could also indicate a loss or separation from a sibling, or you may be an only child with this position sometimes as well. Definitely early on, there may have been some judgment. There may have been some heavy criticism in terms of how you learned, how you communicated. Again, you could have a lot of pressure coming from an authoritative figure, or you could just receive a lot of ridicule and judgment early on. There could be some type of humiliation that you faced early on in your life with this placement, which makes you very careful about how you communicate, measuring every word, taking your time to look over those small details. It can make you very anxious about public speaking as well, where you like to take your time to make sure that everything is right before presenting anything. Now, if Mercury is the planet that holds the lowest degree in the conjunction, then this could mean that you take a very long time to communicate. So this could make you especially skilled at giving long speeches, at writing long novels with this placement. This also can make you interested in wanting to invest in things that take a long time. If you're going to build a business, then you want it to be something that lasts. You're not looking at short-term goals when you have this. If Saturn is the one that holds the lowest degree in the conjunction, then this could mean that the way that you communicate is not necessarily long, but is at a slower pace. You take your time to come to decisions. You take your time to analyze everything in great depth. And definitely, this can make you a very disciplined and organized person where you have this very strong and straightforward way of communicating. You are all about speaking the truth, about getting that message across in a rational way. It could also give you a little bit of procrastination around doing business, though, because you take a longer time to really mull over all of the details and to make sure that everything is done correctly. If this conjunction occurs in the fire signs, again, there can be a lot of frustration in terms of your communication, in terms of your learning style. And this is especially true if this falls in the sign of Aries. There can be a lot of obstacles early on with this placement. Sometimes, even in terms of friendships as well, there can be some conflicts and issues with being understood. If you have this placed in Leo, then it could be more so that you have this very dominant and charismatic way of communicating. And sometimes this can make you a little bit imposing with your views, your ideas, where sometimes there's a need to draw this back a little bit. This also could give you some issues with people in positions of power and authority because Leo is ruled by the sun, which is all about authority as well. If you have it placed in Sagittarius, then it can be great for anything spiritual, religious, philosophical. It can give you extraordinary knowledge where you can really dive into your studies and really understand this. Sometimes, though, it can give issues with people who are trying to give you guidance, all sorts of teachers, gurus who are trying to give you guidance. You can have some sort of trust issue or run into obstacles, conflicts, disagreements with these people. If you have it placed in an earth sign, then they can be great for doing business, especially in terms of finances. This can make you very skilled in this area. Definitely, though, in the earth signs, you're going to be very careful and measured in your approach. So you're not really interested in taking risk or doing things that are too far out of your comfort zone. You really like to take your time to think over everything and to make really rational and sound decisions. Especially in Taurus, this can make you very skilled with finances and even with advising other people with finances as well. Sometimes it can also make you very skilled in terms of dealing with food, hospitality, restaurant business can be seen sometimes. If you have it in Virgo, then it's going to make you very technical and skillful in whatever you approach with this position for sure. It can also make you a great problem solver where you're very helpful. You're able to help guide people out of situations in a practical way. This also, though, can make you a very critical, dissecting person, though, which could cause some conflicts in your relationships with other people. If you have it placed in Capricorn, it's going to make you a very hardworking, ambitious person, and you can get known for something with this placement for sure. People can acknowledge you for all of the work and effort that you put in because Capricorn is all about status. Definitely, this placement could make you a great manager. You are very good at being in charge and making sure that everyone is on task with this placement. Sometimes, though, you can have some obstacles with people in positions of authority because you really don't like to be under the control of other people. You like to be the one who is in charge, who is managing all of the details with this placement. It could make you a little bit introverted as well. Taking your time to work on things from behind the scenes can be seen sometimes. If you have a place in the air sign, it can make you a great advisor, teacher, lecturer, someone who's giving guidance to other people. It gives you a great understanding of other human beings. Especially in Aquarius, the humanitarian, you have such a profound understanding of human nature, which can make you really good at counseling, at therapy, at anything related to psychology. In Gemini, there can be some issues with communication because it is the sign of communication. So there can be issues, especially early on, speech disorders, dyslexia, all of these things But again, this tends to improve with time and experience. And definitely it can make you a great writer because, again, Gemini is about communication. It can give you a lot of technical skill as well. This is a Mercury ruled sign like Virgo. And Libra is a sign of business, so you can be very successful in the business area. You can be very fortunate in terms of finances as well, sometimes with this placement. And Aquarius, again, very good at counseling, dealing with other people, but also it makes you a very independent person. You stand out in some way. There's definitely something very unique, very different about you. You are all about being authentic and original with this placement. And so definitely it could make you successful even in areas of self-employment as well. In the water signs, this tends to be the most challenging position for this conjunction. Definitely there can be strong issues with communication, with being able to express yourself, being able to show people who you really are. This can become very problematic sometimes. And this is especially true when this is placed in Cancer and in Scorpio, that there can be some trust issues there. There can be a tendency to close off from other people sometimes. In Cancer, this is a bit of a difficult position for Mercury, especially, where there can be a lot of emotional issues with this placement. Sometimes this can get you into all sorts of impulsive moods and anxiety disorders because your emotions overtake you. So there's a need to balance and calm down some of these emotions sometimes with this placement. It can definitely give issues in terms of dealing with finances again because you become very emotional with this conjunction. In Scorpio, it can make you very mistrustful of other people and their intentions sometimes. You can be very suspicious of other people with this placement, which can make you very fearful of opening up and trusting other people. At the same time, though, Scorpio is the original eighth house, so you can do very well in areas of business, dealing with finances, even dealing with investments, stock market. All of these things can be successful, especially if this is well placed and receiving some kind of positive aspect from Jupiter, Venus, for example. In Pisces, there is a tendency to overlook the intentions of other people. So you don't always clearly see other people. Sometimes you look at people with rose-colored glasses with this placement where you want to see the best in others and you don't really take the time to really study people to see what are their true motives and intentions. This means that you could run into a lot of issues in your friendships with people stabbing you in the back, people taking advantage of your kindness. So definitely this is something that you want to watch out for. The other thing with this placement is that this can make you similar to Cancer, very anxious, very much overtaken by your emotions at times. So this means that all of those calming, relaxing practices, meditation, for example, becomes very helpful for you with this placement. Also, Pisces is about spirituality, so you have a great sense of spiritual wisdom and knowledge with this conjunction as well. The most prominent houses for this conjunction will be the Kendra houses, the main houses, the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th house of the chart. So in the first house, there's definitely going to be issues early on in life, issues with communication, issues with learning, education, all of this can come into the picture. Also, even later on in life, there can be issues with actually communicating in terms of relationships, expressing yourself, making yourself known to your partner sometimes can become an issue. At the same time, though, this placement can definitely help you to develop your confidence and self-esteem as you get older, which can make you very successful in those areas where you struggled at early on in life. There's definitely something about this placement where you appear to be older or more serious in your approach towards life. There's a sense of maturity and rigidness to this placement early on in life. But as you get older, you start to loosen up, to open up more, and more of your inner child starts to come out. With the fourth house, this can definitely show again issues in education, issues with communication, and especially issues with communication with the mother or family members can also be seen with this placement. Sometimes the mother could have illnesses or problems of her own that she had to deal with as well. This placement, though, can be great for dealing with real estate and property concerns, especially as you get older and this placement really starts to mature. If this is placed in the seventh house of the chart, then this can be a very difficult position for relationships sometimes. Sometimes you're just a little bit confused about relationships or what you're looking for with this placement, or you just run into a lot of dissatisfaction in the area of relationships. At the same time, though, again, as you get older, this conjunction improves. So definitely you can find a partner who is very compatible with you. Now, Saturn is a very rational planet, and Mercury, again, is about this intellectual, logical, analytical thinking. So, definitely, you could attract a partner who is intellectually compatible with you, someone who you can share ideas with, have conversation with, bond on this mental level. If this is placed in the 10th house, then you could be working in politics, government, authoritative positions with this. And definitely, this makes you very hardworking and skillful in your work. You take your time and you really put forth the effort. And this can get you well known and noticed by people in positions of authority as well. At the same time, there can be some issues with your job, with your career situation. If this is not well placed in the chart, there can be issues with sticking to a job, issues with finding satisfaction in your work. So I hope you all enjoyed this. If you like this, don't forget to leave a like. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next video.